please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
It's a large transaction that has been going on for now a couple of years, and finally Tata Steel and Thyssenkrupp have signed the definitive agreement for making a 50-50 joint venture, which will make, remember, a formidable steel giant, the #2 in the European markets. And there was a grand press conference there in Brussels, and I hand it over to my colleague Sanjay, who's right there at the venue. Sanjay.
Well, we are here in Brussels where this very landmark deal was signed a short while ago. With us, as we know, is Mr. Koushik Chatterjee, Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer for Tata Steel. Congratulations, Koushik, on this deal. Now, you've entered into this political marriage within the context of a political, or this business arrangement rather, in the context of a political divorce with business implications. Is that a risk?
Not really. I think we have a very strong underlying industrial rationale, and the frame of this joint venture is to ensure that we have 3 hubs in Netherlands, Germany and UK, and therefore the principle of this joint venture is built on ensuring a seamless transition into one company. And given the fact that trade issues and regulatory issues are fact of life, I think that the underlying strategic rationale will certainly hold out. And I presume you're meaning Brexit, and it may have maybe a positive advantage at a later point in time.
Even if there's no deal?
Well, we don't know the contours of the deal. If there is a status quo, then we are fine. If there is anything which changes, we will adapt to it. Also because of the fact that there is a domestic market that needs to be serviced, and we are ensuring that our capability and asset footprint helps in that process. And therefore, that's not too much of a variability in our...
So you do have a plan B?
Well, our plan A is very robust, and plan B is a matter of adaptability. As I said, that if your asset footprint, your people, the organization is aligned, we will adapt to any changes that may happen at a later point in time.
2 years back, you were planning to sell the business in the UK. Now, a very different show of confidence. Where is this coming from? Because there are worrying signs. Apart from Brexit, you have a continuing issue around dumping, and then, of course, the US tariffs.
So I think 2 years back in 2015-16, the entire steel industry globally was in a very difficult and a challenging situation. Things have changed externally, but more importantly, things have changed internally in the context of our asset footprint in the UK. We have undertaken a series of portfolio restructuring. We have launched and well into our transformation program. So from a position where we were negative EBITDA, we have moved very significantly to a positive EBITDA and a positive frame. We've looked at our prioritizing our capex. We've looked at product mix, and I think we are obviously in a better frame than where we were. And UK being part of a larger configuration in the European network, there are synergies which can flow both ways.
And Nisha?
Thanks for that, Sanjay. So questions coming in from India as well. Koushik, many congratulations. But what is in it for the Indian shareholders? When is it going to be EPS accretive? Because from the looks of it, yes, you have passed on 2.5 billion euros of debt, and your EBITDA on a 50-50 basis will be higher because Thyssenkrupp is clocking in higher EBITDA. So net-net, is it going to be EPS accretive once the entire merger takes shape?
Yeah, Nisha, I think this is a collaboration and a partnership that has been built on very strong industrial logic and footprint. And I think the Indian shareholders and the company will be in a much more financially robust position. Not only are we going to look at deleveraging on the deconsolidation of about 2.5 billion euros of debt. We will have consolidated interest costs, which will come down by about maybe 1,000 crores. We create balance sheet appetite for the growth in the Indian business. And therefore, I think it will certainly have an earnings accretive position. Not to mention about the fact that as a 50-50 joint venture, when we account it on an equity basis, we will have the earnings of the joint venture company, and with our expectation is also that it will be a free cash flow business from which the shareholders will be duly serviced. So I think structurally and otherwise, this is a best of both worlds solution for Tata Steel.
So you've said synergies of 400 to 500 million euros per year. Is that expected to clock in from the very first financial year of your operation as a merged entity?
So I think there are certain synergies which has the potential to start faster than the others. For example, there are ones which are the procurement synergies and synergies on account of the network. These are the ones which will come in possibly first, and then there are synergies which will flow in as we go along. Our estimate is it will take 2 to 3 years to mature on the numbers that we have guided for. But the proximate synergies are very strong, given the fact that both enterprises are serving the same market with similar cost structure and in the same continent.
So in the first year, how much synergy are you expecting, Koushik? And will it be EPS accretive, I ask again, from the very first day of merger or not?
So I said that it would help the EPS of Tata Steel for sure, because of the issues relating to savings in interest costs on account of the synergies starting to flow in. I would not give an exact number on this because we are detailing on the joint business plan that has been prepared by the clean teams over the next few months, subject to the guardrails on the regulatory issues on antitrust. We still are two separate companies, and till all the approvals of the European Commission comes through. But we will find ways into ensuring that when we do close this transaction and the JV starts, we will start realizing synergies as fast as we can.
Is there a potential risk, Koushik, because the activist shareholders like Elliott have raised a lot of concerns because according to them, the deal is in your favor?
I wouldn't like to comment on that because it's essentially an internal matter of Thyssenkrupp. All that we can say is this transaction and this joint venture is founded on very strong industrial rationale. It is going to be one of the champions in steel in Europe. I think we have a lot of things which will go in favor of this joint venture as and when it kind of gets formed. So I think, and it has the potential to create value for all shareholders and stakeholders. And therefore, I think seeing is believing, and that's what would come through in the years to come.
So is there approval required, Koushik, if you can help me understand, for this merger to go through?
Yeah, so I think like in any geography, any merger requires antitrust clearance. So we do require merger control clearances from relevant jurisdictions where each of the entities operates, or each of the entities that gets impacted. And that's the customary one, so including the EU. So that is a process that will happen from now on, and it will take some time before that clearances come through.
About your debt management, and this is my last question, Koushik. You said that 2.5 billion euros passed on to the joint venture that will be deconsolidated from Indian entity. So that means 20,000 odd crore rupees going from your overall net debt that you left in the end of FY18 at 86,000 crore rupees. So that will reduce to 66,000 odd crore rupees. But then you're also buying out Bhushan Steel, where you've said that you're taking a debt of 16,500 crore rupees. What are your plans for debt management? Are you comfortable with these levels? And with this debt on your books, would you still pursue Bhushan Power and Steel?
So I think if you have to look at the Bhushan Steel acquisition, this has been done on a very prudent capital structure. We've contributed about 18,000 crores of equity related from Tata Steel, and about 16,500 of debt for a 5 million plus ton facility with very strong asset configuration, especially on the downstream, and a market presence. So I think, and we've been so far been starting our integration program there. So I think as far as Bhushan Steel is concerned, I think that has been structured on an incremental debt EBITDA of under 3. So that's certainly resilient. I think Indian operations are doing very well. And therefore, on an overall basis, we are replacing debt with the acquisition of fundamentally strong Indian operations, as in the acquisition in Bhushan Steel. Bhushan Power, I can't comment because it's currently in the courts. We'll see what happens going forward.
Koushik, in a nutshell, how is 2 together better than 1 + 1?
So I think there are, as I mentioned, that because of the strong industrial logic, the synergies, which are what I call proximate synergies, are very good, very robust. And there are certain synergies which would have not gotten realized individually by either of these entities, but would get realized when we are together. As I said, we are in the same geography, same cost structure, similar configuration. We are both in flat products. So there are these leverages which this joint venture company will certainly maximize. And that's why we believe that it's 1 + 1 equal much more than 2.
Great to see you two steeling yourself together for challenging times ahead. Thank you very much, Koushik, for talking to us.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Nisha.
All right, thanks for that, Koushik, as well as Sanjay. So that's the word coming in from Tata Steel. Lots happening when it comes to the mergers and acquisitions space. Of course, Thyssenkrupp transaction will have to go and pass the muster of all the approvals going forward. But Tata Steel, remember, in India is also taking huge strides in adding capacity through the IBC processes. So we'll keep an eye out for all the M&A transactions at Tata Steel.